Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you wanna.
Yeah, we're just, sharing some history here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. This is part of a much larger effort that's been going on for a long time. When you have legislation passed here in Arizona, you don't need a permit. Where do you think that comes from? It's a cultural thing. It's been going on for a long time. We've been doing this since 94 when I filed an initiative, unrestricted concealed carry. Are you a safe legislator or an unsafe legislator? Safe gun owners, Second Amendment is for everyone. You type in Second Amendment is for everyone.com. Boom. You go to our site that we, keep putting all kinds of goodies up there as a reference. We'll be focusing on it when the time comes. Whenever they do stupid stuff like this, they start restricting your rights on guns, man. Oh, there's already a ready-made audience out there ready to go give them what for. Well, what we did is we kept using a lot of court cases and getting our government number to get press and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted this one time, once and for all, to be able to put it in the public record. Because this was before we had Freedom's Phoenix. It's before, the internet became what it was. This is in the early 2000s. We knew it was coming. It was always in our head. In fact, Freedom's Phoenix, the formatting for that, we originally in 94, before Freedom's Phoenix, we kind of decided to go that route because we already had it in our heads. All we were waiting on is being able to do broadband video. When the video started, I knew, it's all over. So what happened was it was safe. It was the Second Amendment issue that we knew we could have an infrastructure that would go nationwide immediately. But then we started to understand it's really just more of a freedom thing. It's even though we were always libertarian at heart, it was the one thing that really got people off the ball was firearms. It was Second Amendment. Boy, you want to get libertarians and conservatives being all buddies together. That was the issue. The thing is that, we could see it was much deeper than that. That was just a symptom. That's one thing that L. Neil Smith made clear. It's a Vulcan mind meld with the state, how they treat firearms in the hands of the people they're supposed to serve. So when we had the standing, it was very clear standing. The law says you must, they didn't. Okay, they want to play, that's what we'll do. So what we did is we said, all right, we're going to go ahead and file a special action. And we did that. And the one thing that was very clear is what the law and the precedents and everything were. But to get an attorney to take that case and be able to, it's an enormous amount of research. So what we did is we did all the research for them. And we put it in a format in a special action and a summary judgment request in our lawsuit to make sure that it was all there. We didn't care what the judges did. Of course, we knew they were going to do what they were going to do. We're always going for a cultural change. What happened? Within a year, the legislature passed legislation saying that, this is amazing, saying that the state of Arizona had to obey the state of Arizona laws and check the firearms. So whenever we go down to the legislature or any government building, I'm always strapped on, man. Here I go. Come over here. Just log it in. Just go put it in the, I go to court. I'm always got my firearm. We're going to fight. I may, not carry it any other time as far as you know, but then dang Skippy, I got to go down to the state legislature. I'm carrying my firearm. That's just the way it is. So a lot of other people do it too. Well, it's usually in the opening day, they'll have the State of the State address that will come up here in a couple of weeks. And a lot of times the opening legislative session, a lot of us just out of principle, we'll just go down there, check our firearms, walk around, what's up, and leave. And I'll just, people, a citizen red with some firearms came by. Just say hello. Well, State Representative, State Senator Karen Johnson, which I'm going to go up in northern Arizona and visit next week. She always carried her firearm in her purse. Yep, got it right here. They can kiss it because they bite. I'm carrying a firearm. So I love her, man. She's got it going on, but she decided to retire. She's just like, I'm done, man. I'm getting ready. I'm raising chickens, and literally that's what she's doing up in northeastern Arizona. Now, what we knew is that when this happens, you get a lot of press, New York Times flew a photographer and a reporter out to meet with me. They took a picture of me and my firearm at my restaurant, told the whole story, put that out, and of course I got translated in a gazillion languages and went all over. At the time, the reason they were interested in this is that there was, I think it was Utah or Idaho, so there was a court building where even though they had the metal detectors and all that, somebody got a gun in there and went, it was a family court dispute, domestic, whatever, and started shooting up judges and people and everything, and they're going, well, see, they're doing, I go, yeah, well, I guess it didn't help much, having the metal detectors and so on. And, of course, all the people, they're good guys in there, were disarmed. It's like this guy that, went to the school board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he's in there waving a gun around and everything. Well, if there was anybody there with a firearm, problem solved. Movie's over. Like the Panic Room and Jodie Foster. You got hours and hours a night and her in the Panic Room and doing the bad guys getting everything. If she had a firearm to begin with, there wouldn't have been a movie. This is this mentality. We take advantage of these opportunities. Well, some people are afraid. Some people are worried. They're worried that whatever. I don't know what they're afraid of, but we're not afraid. We're going to make an issue out of this. Every single time this stuff came up, they had a student down at University of Arizona during the 2002 gubernatorial elections when Barry Hess was running for governor. Right before a few weeks before the election, the Republican was going to have a big NRA fundraiser down there. They decided to cancel it because this thing happened at the University of Arizona. Instead of embracing it and saying, look, anybody with a firearm could have stopped. In fact, it was somebody with a firearm that did. So I'm going, but you never hear about that part. So I'm just going, this is, no fear. So we wanted to have this out. Now, the rhetoric, of course, at the time, we were making a big deal out of the law. What are they supposed to do? Well, of course, they did pass a law saying the state had to obey the law. Now they have to check the firearms. Then, of course, you also have where they did this unrestricted concealed carry without, a permit and so on. So this does not happen in a vacuum. It's from us year after year after year penetrating the culture of this state and the country, making sure they understand we are safer. Is the government safer? Well, it depends. Are they defending your rights, like we try and work with the Phoenix Police Department every chance we get? Or are they the ones taking them away? See. In the late 90s, this is part of the article I wrote. In the late 90s, the state of Arizona made the claim that just like private property owners, they had the right to restrict the carrying of firearms at highway rest stops. If you were a woman in need of a rest break at 1 a.m. on the lone desert highway, you were at the mercy of the thugs hanging out at the rest stops. Signs declared in error that you had to keep your firearms in your car. This only disarmed the law-abiding. In a restroom stall with your panties around your ankles, you were nothing more than prey. As the stats built up in Arizona, we made a stand and challenged the law by openly carrying in front of law enforcement and the press at parks and rest stops until the signs were corrected. But with 9/11 came the race to fortify every government building in the country so we looked like a Central American dictatorship. This is the mindset. This is the rhetoric that we were using. So what we did is if you go to the Freedom's Phoenix right now and you see the lawsuit that we filed in the Arizona Supreme Court, you get all of the case. This is great reference. I forgot about this. We had until we were talking about it. I go, is that on there? Did a search on the site. Boom, there it is. We put this up in December of 2005. 5 years ago, we had this up. So I am putting this up for you guys to go and download this document, this lawsuit. It's formatted and so on, how best we could put it in the format here. But you can take and use a lot of these precedents, a lot of this research that we spent, a lot of man hours, a lot of the activists, getting this information so that it was there available for you to make use of in your court cases. So you can advocate for this. That's why we did it, to get it in the record. Now, of course, they dismissed it. The Supreme Court, they go, nope, because we can. I don't even remember. I never even read it. I don't even care what they say. It's just that we just wanted to get it papered. We changed the culture. Legislators come in. Boom. It's cured. But at the same time, we have this young woman that's working at the Department of Revenue that wants to defend herself against her sexually molesting her father that's getting out of jail. So you imagine all the press that we got because of that. How is she to be protected? They were claiming she could not even have it in her car on the parking lot, which means she had to be disarmed from her home that was in Apache Junction, like 50 miles away. This is craziness, crazy. But we get it taken care of. By what? Up here. between the ears. It's a cultural change. Make use of the resources on Freedom's Phoenix. Go kick some butt. We'll talk about more when we come back.